For my husband's lunch today, I'm going to pack in some boiled bean sprouts. This is just a simple Korean side dish. Next, I'm going to lay down some parchment paper and cut up some fruit. Today I have strawberries and apples. Yesterday, my husband and I went and got some dim sum, so I was able to bring back some steamed custard buns, which are my favorite. So I packed one of those in there along with some sliced radish. For the main portion, I'm going to be doing an unagi bowl. First, I torched my unagi to give it a nice roasted char flavor. Then I lay it over a bed of fresh rice. And if you guys don't know, unagi is freshwater eel that typically is roasted and then topped with a soy sauce glaze. And it's super good, and it's one of my favorites whenever I go to a Japanese restaurant. Back to the lunch, I packed in some egg omelet, some cherry tomatoes, and then I garnished with some parsley. And now that everything's ready to go, I'm packing it all up into my new bento box from Bento Heaven. And of course, I can't forget the note for my husband. For my husband's lunch today, I'm going to first put down my cup liners. These I get at Daiso. The first one, I'm going to put in some roasted peanuts, and then I have some sauteed mushrooms, which is just sauteed in a simple soy sauce and some olive oil. Next, I'm going to slice up some vegetables, and to keep it easy, I just use these sauces from McDonald's all the time. This one's honey mustard. And for the main portion, since it's been super hot outside, I'm going to be making some cold soba noodles. These are super easy to make. I just boil up the noodles and then give them a rinse under some cold water. Then I place down some tempura shrimp, which I get from the frozen section, and I just air fry them up. Then I garnish it with some scallions, and in a separate little container, I'm going to pour in some soba noodle sauce, which is just pre-made, and I get it at the store. I like adding green onions and some wasabi. And now that everything's ready to go, I'm packing it all up, and of course including a note to tell my husband to enjoy the nudes. For my husband's lunch today, I'm going to be making a salad. This one is going to have mozzarella and tomatoes and some basil and lettuce leaves, so kind of like a caprese salad, but just a little heartier. After laying down my mixed greens, I've got some mozzarella, some cherry tomatoes, and some fresh basil leaves that I got from my garden. I'm going to pack in some balsamic vinegar and some olive oil, of course. And for the fruit, I'm going to pack in an orange. And for the main portion, I'm going to be packing in some dumplings. These are pork ling ling dumplings that I get in my frozen section at Costco. And I grew up eating these, so there's no shame in them because I think they're actually pretty good. And I always have them on hand. Next, I packed in some chicken karaage, which I reheated in my air fryer, along with some soy sauce. And now that everything's ready to go, I'm packing it all up, and of course including a note for my husband. For my husband's lunch today, I'm going to start with the top, just like usual. For the top portion, I'm going to be doing a Caesar salad, which is pretty much chopped up romaine lettuce, some parmesan, and of course you can't forget the croutons. And then I put the dressing in a little sauce container for later. Then I'm going to put in a piece of parchment paper, and the parchment paper is just to keep the fruit juices from going everywhere. Today I have cut up golden kiwi and some strawberries. Now that this is ready to go, for the main portion, I'm going to be making a pesto steak sandwich, which is really easy to put together. I sliced up some leftover steak. Yes, leftover steak is definitely possible. My husband's eyes are too big for his stomach, and I always end up grilling way too much. Of course, we can't let that beautiful steak go to waste, so today I made the sandwich. After packing in the sandwich, I also included some strawberry fig bars. And now that everything's ready to go, I'm packing it all up, and of course including a note for my husband. For my husband's lunch today, I'm going to pack in this little salad that I whipped up. It's just cucumber, tomatoes, red onion with a little bit of balsamic vinegar and olive oil. For the fruit, I have this plum, I think. Maybe it's a nectarine, but mainly I got these because the outsides look really funny. Reminds me of like reptile skin or something, but either way, they taste really good and they're sweet. Lastly, I packed in some walnuts and a couple Oreos. And for the main portion, I'm doing some spaghetti. For the pasta sauce, it's pretty much shashuka, which I think I pronounced that right. I take those veggies minus the egg and place it into a blender, which then becomes your sauce. For the protein, I did some spicy garlic shrimp. And I get this question a lot, but I always make sure the bottom portion is nice and cool before I stack the top layer. Since most days I pack the lunch the day before and it's kept in the fridge until my husband takes it away in the morning. Now that the lunch is ready to go, I of course include a note for my husband.
Hey everyone, this is the husband. Right now my wife is packing my first course, some vegetables. She sliced up some carrots and cucumbers, and also threw in some cherry tomatoes. The dipping sauce she's using is a creamy buffalo sauce from Costco. Next she packed some chocolate corn stars, which are like a Japanese children's treat, which tastes really good. For the main course, my wife packed some rice, As for the protein, she made some lemongrass chicken skewers, the recipe for which will be posted after this video, so stay tuned. After packing the skewers into the box, she topped everything off with some sliced scallions, or green onions for some of you. Now that everything is done, she's packing it with a note for my lunch tomorrow, which is the highlight of my day.
Hey guys, I'm back. Hope everyone missed me, and for my husband's lunch today, I'm going to be packing in some corn salad. It's super simple. It's pretty much corn, cut up cucumber, tomatoes, some onion, mixed with a little bit of Kewpie mayo. For the fruit, I cut up this plum, also known as a dinosaur egg because of its funny coloring. Next, I packed in some rice cracker treats that are wrapped in nori. For something sweet, I packed in a few pieces of dark chocolate. The brand name is Meiji, and they're one of my favorites. For the main portion, I'm going to be making some onigiri, which is a Japanese rice ball. For the filling, I did avocado and candied bacon. Once I formed each one, I rolled them in some rice seasoning and then wrapped each with a piece of nori. Then I'm going to pack in some tofu chicken nuggets that I put in my air fryer. The recipe for that is in one of my previous videos. And for the final touches, I put in some cherry tomatoes, and now that everything's ready to go, I'm packing it up and of course including a note for my husband. For my husband's lunch today, I'm going to start by packing in a salad. First, I'm going to chop up my romaine lettuce. For the toppings, I'm going to do some cherry tomatoes, some sliced cucumber, along with some shredded carrot, and some red onion slices. For the salad dressing, I'm going to pack in some roasted sesame, which is one of our favorites. Next, I'm going to pack in these super cute mini banana chocolate chip muffins, and the recipe for those is in one of my previous videos. For the main portion, I'm going to pack in some roasted smashed potatoes, and I'm also going to include a slice of beef Wellington, which definitely isn't something I make often. This is like my second time, but I did end up losing a bet between my husband, and so he got to decide what the dinner was going to be. And of course, I love a good challenge, and it did turn out amazing. Now that the lunch is ready to go, I'm packing it away for him to take tomorrow. For my husband's lunch today, I'm going to make the top portion into a cheese plate. First, I'm going to pack in some salami, which I made into a rose shape. It turned out okay. I think when I make a bigger one, it looks much better. Next, I packed in some cheddar cheese slices, some smoked Gouda, some brie, and then some sliced apples. Of course, I can't forget the crackers, and then I also had a really cute bottle of honey that I packed in there, and then put in a stalk of rosemary just to be extra. For the main portion, I first laid down some rice, then I placed in some vegetable matsuman curry that I made the other night. I always use the pre-made curry paste just to make it easier. Then I laid down some cooked chicken breast, and I also made sure to wrap up those crackers so they don't get soggy. And now that everything's ready to go, I'm packing it all up and of course including a note for my husband. For my husband's lunch today, I'm going to start by packing in some watermelon. I had a pretty crazy weekend, so my voice is a little hoarse today, but I promise I'm not sick and I'm feeling fine. After I packed in the cut up watermelon, I'm going to make this cucumber sandwich. It's just rolled up deli meat, and I put that in the middle, skewered them together with some toothpicks to make them into little sandwiches. Then I'm going to pack in some creamy buffalo sauce for dipping. And for the main portion, I have some leftover beef and cabbage runzas that I made. They're super delicious. They're basically like little beef pockets, and the recipe for that will be posted after this. So these ones that I packed in, I wanted to toast up so they could get nice and golden brown, but I left them in there for a tad bit too long. It's fine, they're still delicious, and now that everything's ready to go, I'm packing it all up and of course including a note for my husband. Hey guys, it's been a hot minute, and for my husband's lunch today, I'm going to start by packing in some Korean side dishes. The first one is cooked bean sprouts, and the second is some steamed Japanese eggplant. Both I made the day of, and then lastly I packed in a few mini chocolate chip banana muffins. And the recipe for those are already up. Moving on to the main portion, I'm going to start by packing in some rice. To go along with this, I have some spicy pork, which has some carrots and onion. Unfortunately, I don't have the recipe for this because this was given to me by my neighbor, but she made it the perfect amount of spiciness and it was super good. I finished it off with some green onions and some sesame seeds. And for this lunch, I packed the night before, and the only thing that needs to be reheated is the bottom. Now that everything's ready to go, I'm packing it all up and of course including a note for my husband. For my husband's lunch today, I started by packing in some shishito peppers that I sauteed up with a little bit of soy sauce, garlic, and sugar. They turned out super delicious, and they're actually not that spicy. Next, I packed in a handful of walnuts, and then I got these new cheese crisp crackers that are pretty good. After I packed those in there, I sliced up an apple and then packed whatever I could fit into the last compartment. Moving on to the main portion, I'm going to be doing some curry rice. First, I laid down some fresh rice and then packed it down so I can make room for the curry. For the curry, I always use the instant kind, but the recipe for that is in one of my previous videos if you want to know how I did it. In Japan, they always have this red pickled radish, so I include that in there as well. And now that everything's ready to go, I'm packing it all up and of course including a note for my husband.